You said it yourself. Do whatever you want. There's an empty space on the side shelf in the bathroom. Her bottles of perfume and lotions are gone, every single one of them. That space always used to be crowded with everything Michelle claimed made her feel enough. Some antifrizz hair serum, a fancy moisturizer that smelled like citrus, and a tinted sunscreen she insisted was her daily armor. Now there's only a faint outline of dust where those things stood. I stare at that empty outline and feel like I'm staring at the shadow of my own stupidity. My lower back throbs. I try to straighten myself, but the ache grips my muscles all the way from the hip up to the middle of my spine. It's like my body wants me to hunch over, admit defeat right here in front of this vacant shelf. I can't do that. When I open the medicine cabinet, I see that she's left the painkillers we bought a few weeks ago. My old back injury, some accident from lifting too many heavy boxes alone back in my 20s, has flared up again. The bottle is half empty, though I don't remember taking that many. Guess the stress has me popping them like candy. Or maybe I was just too lost to notice. The shelf is a testament. A silent reminder that something precious has been stolen from me. And it's not just the physical things. I lean against the sink, letting the memory come at me. The adrenaline in my veins right now is making me tremble, but at the same time, I feel oddly calm, like I'm watching myself from a distance. Michelle used to stand right here each morning. She'd twist her brown hair into a loose bun, complain about the Arizona dryness, dab under her eyes with that ridiculous spool of concealer. Her green gaze always looked so lively in the mirror, and I'd lean against the doorframe, telling her she was beautiful enough without all that. Her shoulders would slump a bit, just for a second, then she'd look at me with a sad little smile. I always interpreted it as shyness or self-consciousness. Now I realize it was guilt. Or maybe it was fear. I shuffle out of the bathroom, swallow back the pills without water. The dryness in my throat scratches like sandpaper, but I don't bother to rinse it down. The pain's there, and so is the bitterness, and so is the memory of what I found earlier today. The chat window she forgot to close. We've lived in this house for 6 years. My job in marketing brought us to Phoenix. It was supposed to be a step up from Dallas, a new city, fresh challenges. God knows I was excited. I wanted to provide for her, to keep us both comfortable. We'd spent hours picking out paint for these walls, choosing furniture, building a life. It never crossed my mind she would just walk away one day, or that I would walk away. I always said I wasn't the type to run, that I'd fight for what matters. But sometimes you don't realize you're the only one fighting. I catch a glimpse of our wedding photo on the hallway table. It's dusty. I can't even remember the last time one of us wiped it. Feels like a metaphor for how careless we got with each other. My reflection in the frame looks older than I remember. Hair with flecks of gray at the temples, tension carved into my jaw. I was 38 last month. She was 36. Not ancient, but old enough to know better than to play these stupid games. Jack, you said it yourself. Do whatever you want. Michelle always liked to throw my own words back at me whenever an argument started. Usually that phrase popped up when we were bickering about finances or about her wanting to see old friends out of state. But the last time she said it, her eyes were cold. She was angry at me because I'd set up an experiment, the one that ended up destroying everything. Funny how I thought I was being open-minded. We could try something adventurous, I told her one night. My back was killing me. I'd had a few glasses of whiskey to numb the ache. If you want more excitement in the bedroom, maybe let someone else join us. I remember how my mouth felt dry saying those words, but there was some twisted part of me that wanted to make her happy, or maybe keep her from drifting away. She froze. Then she looked at me with something almost like delight. I thought it was shock. Maybe it was. But there was a sparkle in her eyes, a spark that suggested she'd already been imagining it. That should have been my first clue. I shuffle into the living room now, letting my hand trail across the back of the couch. God, the times we spent here watching late-night TV, or when we talked about starting a family. My back twinges again, and I grit my teeth. Leaning on the couch for support, I let out a slow breath. I can still hear Michelle's voice from that night. I mentioned the threesome. She asked, "Are you sure you're okay with that?" I was too proud to back down. I laughed, said something like, "It'll be an adventure. Could be fun. And you said you were bored. So here's your pass." She pressed her lips together. "All right, if it's what you want." But it wasn't what I wanted. I just didn't have a better solution to the tension we'd been feeling. Our sex life had been shaky, though we still tried. She kept talking about how she felt inadequate. As a woman, she'd cry sometimes, saying she wasn't beautiful enough or good enough. And I, in my frustration, thought bringing someone else in for a night of fun might chase away her self-doubt, or at least put some spice back into us. Stupid. I might as well have handed her directly to Tony. They met before that night, though. I'm not blind to it anymore. I see now that Tony was always hovering in the periphery. Michelle told me he was a friend, someone she collaborated with on a PR event a while back. He was from San Diego, in town for business occasionally. I thought he was just this easygoing, surfing-obsessed entrepreneur who liked to talk big about living life with no regrets. I swallow hard, remembering the day I bumped into him outside my own house. I'd gotten home early from a conference, and there he was at the curb, leaning against that flashy red convertible, chatting with Michelle like it was the most natural thing in the world. I assumed it was PR work talk. Why question her? She was free to have friends and business contacts. I never wanted to be that jealous, paranoid husband. The air in this living room is stale. I moved toward the kitchen to open a window, but it stuck. Michelle used to say the frame swelled when the weather changed. Another item on the to-do list I never got around to. That's how it goes, huh? You keep ignoring the small cracks until the foundation is beyond repair. I put my weight into it. The window jolts open, letting in a burst of hot desert air. It's evening, but Phoenix is still scorching. I brace my hands on the counter and exhale, letting the swirl of memories come. I was the one who said, "You know what might set us free? Bringing someone else into our bedroom." That's how the conversation started. And Michelle accepted it with a readiness that should have scared me. Maybe I believed I was being modern. Maybe I thought, I'm in control. But that night, it was a Saturday. We'd set it all up like some surreal date. Tony showed up with a smug grin, wearing a casual button-down that showed off his tanned arms and that little surfboard tattoo. I remember him handing me a bottle of expensive whiskey, like we were old pals, and I played along, giving him a pat on the shoulder, even though my instincts were screaming something was off. We talked, laughed stiffly, drank too much. Then at some point, we drifted to the bedroom. My stomach clenched with anxiety the entire time, but I just told myself, this is what Michelle wants. This is for us. When things turned heated, I watched them. God, I can't believe how naive I was. Michelle's eyes gleamed with a kind of hunger I hadn't seen in her for a while. My heart pounded, part excitement, part dread. We all touched, we all kissed. The tension in that small bedroom felt like it was going to break the walls. The details of that night are blurred for me now, partly because I tried not to see. My back was hurting. I was feeling a swirl of jealousy and confusion. I remember Michelle's voice trembling with pleasure, the warmth of bodies, my own chest hammering. Tony was all over her. Yeah, we agreed to it. But I guess I never pictured how raw it would feel to see them that close, to see her nails digging into his shoulders, to hear the moans. I tried to stay present, tried to get involved, but they seemed locked in some trance I couldn't break. Eventually, I left the room. I told them I needed a moment in the bathroom to catch my breath. The reflection in the mirror showed me a man whose eyes were frantic, panicked. My lower back was in full spasm. I splashed water on my face, took more painkillers, forced myself to breathe, then returned to bed. Tony and Michelle were still entwined, not even noticing I was gone. I forced my way back in, telling myself this was what we planned, but I felt like an intruder in my own marriage. We all woke up the next morning. Well, they woke up in each other's arms. I was on the far edge of the mattress, the sheets tangled around my waist. My head felt like someone had used it for batting practice. I got up, put on some clothes, tried to process what I had done. Tony was the first to leave. He flashed me a grin, then turned to Michelle with a playful wink. When he was gone, she just looked at me, searching my face. "Are you okay?" she whispered. "Yeah," I said, my voice raw. "We did what we said we'd do." She looked nervous. Or was that exhilaration? I can't quite remember. She tiptoed into the shower, and I stood there, listening to the water run. We never really spoke about it afterward. We tried to pretend it was just an experiment, something we tried once. But everything in her behavior changed. She was on her phone more, took more business trips. I told myself I was overthinking it. I insisted I had no right to complain, because I was the idiot who suggested it. Eventually, though, the tension grew. She became distant. We'd barely talk some evenings. I buried myself in marketing projects, chasing promotions. My phone was always buzzing with some new account, and ironically, that might have been the only thing keeping me from confronting her sooner. But this morning, I found her chat open on the laptop. She must have used it last night and forgotten to close it. I woke up early, feeling restless, and saw the lines of text. T. Wish you were in my arms right now. Everything about you drives me wild. M. I can't wait to see you again. Last time wasn't enough. I keep thinking about your touch. A swirl of more explicit messages describing exactly how they wanted each other. The words made my throat tighten. She didn't even bother to hide it. Not anymore. That's when I knew she hadn't just left me with the memory of that night. She continued seeing him, letting him fill the void I'd unwittingly opened. Now I'm here, rummaging through the kitchen drawers for something to calm my raging mind. The pills numb the back pain a bit, but not the burning in my chest. I find a small half-empty bottle of gin. Don't even remember when we got it. I pour a shot into a random coffee mug. It's lukewarm and tastes like soap from the dishwasher. My phone buzzes on the counter. It's a text from her. We need to talk. I'm coming by later. My knuckles go white around the mug. I debate ignoring her. Then I just set the phone aside. She said she's coming by. Fine. Let her. Outside, the desert sky is dimming. The heat's still pressing. Like a blanket I can't escape. I stand there, finishing the gin, letting my mind churn. My body is tense with anger, but also there's a pit of sadness in my stomach. My heart's beating too fast. I want to punch something, break something, but I also want to collapse. How could she do this? Then again, how could I be so blind? Time crawls. An hour later, maybe two, I hear the door open. She never knocks. She thinks this is still her home. She calls out my name softly. I grip the edge of the counter. My breath flutters in my throat. But I force myself to speak calmly. In the kitchen, her footsteps move across the wood floor. She appears in the doorway, wearing some casual outfit, jeans, and a loose-fitting blouse. She's got her hair pulled back, but I can see the tension in her face. "Jack," she says. "Are you okay?" I clench my jaw. "I'm fantastic, Michelle. Couldn't be better." She glances around like she's not sure how to begin. I notice she's not wearing her wedding ring. The indentation is still on her finger, but the metal band's gone. "I wanted to explain," she starts. I release a scornful laugh, turning away. "Go ahead. I'm listening." She steps closer, tries to place a hand on my arm. I jerk away. "Don't," I mutter. There's a pause that feels like it lasts a year. Then she says, "Jack, what happened between Tony and me?" Well, I guess you know it didn't stop that night. At first, I was confused. I didn't know what we were doing. But we had problems already. You saw that. I didn't know how to feel enough. I kept looking for something that made me feel alive. Her words churned my stomach. I can't handle looking at her, so I fix my eyes on the chipped edge of our countertop. So it's my fault. That's what you're saying. She sighs. No, I'm not blaming you. But you suggested it, Jack. You brought him into our bed. And I. She hesitates, tears forming in her eyes. I guess I wanted to be wanted. And Tony, he made me feel desired in a way I haven't felt in a long time. My nostrils flare. I was right there, wanting you every day. She's silent, and that silence is more damning than any confession. I slam the mug down, ignoring the spike of pain in my back from the sudden movement. Why couldn't you just talk to me? Tell me what you needed. Instead, you kept going with him. My voice breaks, and I hate that I sound so raw. Her shoulders sag. I tried to tell you how I felt, how I never believed I was good enough for you. You were so caught up in your job, trying to be the perfect provider, you never saw how lonely I was. I spin around, anger flashing through me. So you thought sleeping with Tony behind my back was the solution. She opens her mouth, but no words come. A tear slips down her cheek. For a moment, the memory of her smile from our wedding day flickers through my mind, and I have to squeeze my eyes shut to keep from crumbling. I want to yell. I want to hate her. But I also feel pity, or something close to it. My chest twists. She's broken something that might never be fixed, but she's broken too. I let the wave of pain pass. Then I step toward her, voice trembling with rage and sorrow. I found your messages. You didn't even bother to hide them. Or maybe you just wanted me to see. She flinches. I wasn't going to hide forever. She wipes her cheek. Jack, this is hurting me too. I'm sorry. I'm sorry it went this way. My laugh is bitter. Yeah, you look devastated. She starts to speak but stops. For a second, I see the guilt in her eyes. Then she steels herself, probably telling herself this confrontation was inevitable. I know I can't take back what happened. It's just, maybe it's better if we separate, if we both go our own way. Neither of us has been happy. I swallow the lump in my throat. So that's it. You waltz in, say sorry, and tell me we should just end it. She lifts her head. Unless you want to try to fix this. But do you? Because it doesn't feel like you do. I stare at her, remembering the times we were so close we couldn't keep our hands off each other. Remembering her kissing my neck in the mornings, the smell of coffee and the feel of her hair on my face. That's all dust now. Michelle, I say, my voice low. I have no idea who you are anymore. The woman I married wouldn't lie to me like this. Her shoulders tremble. I'm still that woman. Just broken. My back seizes again, and I have to grip the counter. A jolt of rage tears through me at how physically worn I feel, how she's taken the best years of my life, and left me with this battered body and a destroyed heart. I speak through clenched teeth. Get out. Her eyes widen. What? Take your stuff. I rasp. There's hardly anything left in the bathroom. I see you already did most of the packing. So just get whatever you need from the bedroom, and leave. I'm done. Tears roll down her face, but she doesn't argue. She seems numb, as though she's been expecting this moment. She turns and walks away. I hear the bedroom door open, the quiet rustle of her clothes and personal items being gathered. For a moment, I almost called her back. Some battered part of me still wants to salvage what we built. But then I remember Tony's messages. I remember the sound of her moaning his name while I stood at the sink, swallowing back the urge to vomit. I force myself to breathe. In and out. My chest is tight. The anger and heartbreak coil in my stomach. I expect her to linger, but she emerges only minutes later with a small suitcase. Probably the last few things. Some jewelry, maybe a couple of outfits she forgot. She stands there in the hallway, looking at me with an expression that's halfway between sorrow and resignation. Jack, she starts. I cut her off. Go, she nods. Her lips part as if to say something else, but no words come. Then she walks out the door. The silence that follows is almost unbearable. I feel unsteady, so I slump into a chair at the kitchen table. My back is throbbing again, but I ignore it. Something inside me is cracked wide open, leaving a raw emptiness. I realize the house is too quiet. No footsteps, no gentle hum of Michelle's voice from another room. I sit there for what could be hours, drifting in and out of memories. Images swirl. The day we met in Orlando. She was a PR assistant, fresh out of college, shining bright with optimism. Our wedding, the move to Phoenix, the first fight, the slow unraveling, the night with Tony, the final betrayal. And I wonder if I'm supposed to cry. But I can't. My eyes are dry, my soul is wrung out. The only tears I feel are twisting somewhere in my chest, refusing to fall. My phone buzzes again, an unknown number, probably a telemarketer or something trivial. I silence it. I think about my next move. Should I call Tony and threaten him? No, he isn't worth the breath. Michelle made her choice. Tony just happened to be the open door for her desire. I was the one who handed her the key. That realization sets off a fresh wave of anger, but it's directed at myself. My father, a stern Texan man, used to say, "Don't pick a fight you can't handle." Well, I picked this one, and I lost. I push myself up, ignoring the pain in my spine. I walk through the hallway, into the bedroom. The sheets are the same ones from that night. We never replaced them. The memory of Tony's grin, the sound of Michelle's breathless voice. My stomach churns. I yank the sheets off the mattress, ball them up, and toss them into a corner. That's a start, I guess. Then I open the closet. She's taken most of her clothes. A few dresses remain, maybe ones she never wore. Something else catches my eye. An old t-shirt of mine she used to sleep in. I grab it, press it to my face. Her scent is gone. I stumble back, letting the t-shirt drop. My mind reels. The tension in my muscles intensifies. I let out a guttural groan, pressing a fist to my lower back, as if that could chase away the spasm. It doesn't. I feel the pain radiating all the way to my shoulders, like a chain of regret. In the bathroom, the half-empty shelf greets me again. I open the cabinet, pull out the bottle of painkillers, pop a few. Then I look at myself in the mirror, see the lines on my forehead. "You've become a cliché, Jack," I mutter. The cheated husband with nothing left but regrets. I need air. I need to get away from these walls that reek of betrayal. I leave the bedroom, heading outside. The desert evening is cooler now. The streetlights cast an orange glow. I slump onto the porch step, leaning my back carefully against the railing, wincing at the discomfort. Across the street, Mr. Hopper, an older guy in his 70s, is watering his lawn. He lifts a hand to wave, and I give him a nod. He doesn't know what's happened. But even if he did, what could he say? That's marriage. That's life. I feel too old, too tired, too spent to start over. And yet maybe it's my only option. I close my eyes, letting the open air fill my lungs. The shame and pain swirl inside me, but a small voice says, "This is not the end. You still have a life to live." The next day it is a blur. I'm not sure if I even slept. I had a bottle of whiskey with me, took more pills than I should have, but not enough to do any real harm, just enough to numb the edges. The following morning, I wake on the couch, my back stiff like a board. The phone shows missed calls from my mother and my younger sister. I ignore them. At midday, someone knocks on the door. I hobble over, half expecting Michelle. But it's Tony. My stomach clenches like I've been punched. He looks at me, wearing some casual t-shirt, jeans, and that cocky grin is nowhere to be found this time. "Jack," he says quietly. For a second, all I can think about is how his hands were on my wife. He's a tall guy, strong, probably works out on the beach. He has that surfer's aura, carefree, a little too self-assured. But right now, There's caution in his eyes. You got some nerve, I growl. He nods, swallows. I do. I'm sorry. I let out a harsh laugh. You're sorry. For what exactly? He shifts on his feet. For hurting you. I never meant for this to. I didn't plan it. Michelle and I hold up a hand, stepping onto the porch so I can close the door behind me. I don't want him inside my house. Don't say her name. Don't you dare stand here and feed me lines. He looks genuinely upset. All right. Look, I know you won't believe me, but I didn't come here to fight. I wanted to see if you're okay. My vision blurs with anger. Does it look like I'm okay? My voice rises, and I realize I'm clenching my fists. You took advantage. The second we opened that door, you didn't hesitate. You were all over her. She was my wife. He closes his eyes briefly. I know, but it wasn't just me. She wanted it too. You must know that. He stops, perhaps realizing there's no right way to finish that sentence. I step closer, every muscle in my back and shoulders screaming. I want to smash my fist into his face. The urge is stronger than I've felt in years. But my body is frail, my spine is throbbing, and I know he might overpower me. Instead, I take a shaky breath and say, listen, Tony, if you had any respect, you'd walk away and never come back here. This is my house, my life. You blew it apart. He exhales slowly. I guess I just wanted to say I'm sorry, and that Michelle, she's in a bad place too. She's confused. Don't talk to me about her. I snarl. I don't need your pity. He nods, mouth set in a grim line. All right. I'll go. He turns and walks to that red convertible parked at the curb. Before he gets in, he glances back, like he's about to say something else. But he just drives off. I stand there, fists trembling, my heart hammering. I want to chase after him, rip him apart, or maybe beg him to undo the damage. My legs feel weak. I manage to get back inside and collapse on the couch, fighting a wave of physical pain and emotional nausea. Time seems meaningless for the next few days. I don't go to work. I email my boss, claiming I'm sick. Partly true. My back is in worse shape than ever, and my mind isn't far behind. I see a few missed calls from Michelle, but I don't answer. Once or twice, I find the phone in my hand, wanting to call her just to scream at her or to demand explanations. But I can't bring myself to do it. One afternoon, my sister texts me. Mom says you're not answering. Are you okay? I'm worried. I stare at the message for a while, then type. I'll be fine. Need some time. That's all. I spend my days rummaging through the house, piling up items that remind me of her. Old photos, random trinkets. I toss them into a cardboard box. Part of me wants to burn it all. Another part can't bear to let it go. The painkillers run low, but I don't bother refilling them. Let me feel the agony. Maybe I deserve it. One night, I'm half dozing on the couch when the doorbell rings again. My heart lurches. I limp to the door, wincing. When I swing it open, Michelle is there. She looks tired, hair pulled up in a messy bun, face puffy like she's been crying. She holds a small bag, a few notebooks, some clothes. I forgot these, she says quietly. I step back to let her inside, arms crossed. She walks past me, and I catch the faintest scent of her familiar perfume. It's like a punch in the gut. She glances around. The living room is a mess. I haven't exactly been cleaning up. She sighs. Jack, please. Can we just talk for a minute? I slump into the chair, pressing my hand to my lower back. Make it quick. She sets the bag down. I know you hate me. I don't blame you. I want you to understand. I never meant for it to get this far. I was desperate to feel something, anything, and when you suggested that crazy idea, I cut her off. It's always my fault. Huh. She shakes her head. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm taking responsibility for what I did. But can you at least see that we were both hurting, both ignoring each other's needs? I leaned forward, a stab of pain shooting up my spine. You think that justifies the lying, the sneaking around. Damn it, Michelle. We were married. We could have worked on this together. She bites her lip, tears pooling again. I know. It's too late. I guess I just needed to say it out loud. And to let you know, I'm leaving Phoenix. I have family back in Florida. My parents said I could stay with them until I figure things out. A bolt of surprise hits me. You're skipping town, just like that. She nods. I think it's best for both of us. Tony's gone back to San Diego. Whatever we had, I don't even know if it was real or just an escape. But I can't stay here, surrounded by reminders of how badly I messed up our marriage. I stare at her, fury and heartbreak battling in my chest. And what about me? I ask, voice cracking. We built this life together, and you just walk away. She closes her eyes. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to do. For a moment, I can't speak. Then I say, fine. Run. Run back to your mom and dad. But don't expect me to chase after you, because I'm done. She nods, tears streaking her cheeks. I understand. We stand there, the weight of years pressing on us. Finally, she picks up the bag, heads toward the door. She pauses, glances at me over her shoulder. Take care of yourself, Jack. The door clicks shut behind her. Silence. I feel hollow. The adrenaline that fueled my anger is gone, replaced by a cold emptiness. My back twinges, lack of medication, or maybe the stress. My mind whirls with memories, regrets, what-ifs. Then, a grim determination settles over me. She's leaving. Tony's out of the picture. There's no reason to cling to this rotting corpse of a marriage. Fine. I look around at the house, the dusty wedding photo on the table, the dent in the wall where I once tried to hang a painting but missed the stud. This place is filled with ghosts. Maybe it's time I exorcise them. The next week I spend contacting lawyers, discussing a divorce. The moment the word divorce leaves my lips, I feel a mixture of relief and sorrow. My job is surprisingly supportive when I explain I need to take some personal leave. I guess they can sense a meltdown if they push me. I gather more of Michelle's leftover belongings into boxes. One day, I open a closet and find a half-filled hamper of her clothes. The smell of her perfume hits me again, along with a wave of memories that nearly doubles me over. My back seizes so badly I sink to the floor, gritting my teeth, wanting to scream. Eventually, I breathe through it, letting the agony remind me I'm still alive. I recall Tony's parting words about Michelle being in a bad place. That's not my concern anymore, I tell myself. She made her choice. She found solace in someone else's arms. I'm not her caretaker, not her safety net. But there's a shred of me that still wonders if she's okay, if we could have found a way back. That shred is overshadowed by an anger that simmers beneath every thought. Time drags on. The legal process begins. Michelle and I speak a few times by phone. Stilted conversations about splitting assets, who keeps the house. She says she doesn't want it. Too many memories. I think about selling it, but something inside me says no. I earned it. I'll keep it. Let it be a reminder of what I survived. Another few weeks pass. My body starts to adjust to a routine. Wake up, do some physical therapy for my back, answer emails from the office, let the lawyer handle the rest. The nights are the worst. Loneliness hits me like a sledgehammer. I'm too restless to sleep but too exhausted to do anything else. I pace the hallway, sometimes cursing myself for letting things go so far, sometimes cursing Michelle or Tony or all three of us for tangling ourselves in this mess. But slowly, something shifts. I realize that I'm breathing more steadily, that I'm able to stand a bit straighter. I begin to see a flicker of possibility. Maybe I can remake my life. Without her, without the lies. One evening, I find myself in the bathroom, the same place where I first noticed the empty side shelf. My side is still scattered with my razor, some aftershave, a comb. Hers is bare. I run my hand over the dusty surface. The reflection in the mirror shows a man who's not quite as broken as he was a month ago. There's a hardness around the eyes, a few more gray hairs, but also a sense of clarity. You said it yourself. Do whatever you want. I whisper to my reflection, echoing her old words, but twisting them into something for me this time. Do whatever I want. It's a strange thought. I'm not used to being free. I sigh, turning off the light. Tomorrow I'll meet with the lawyer again. Maybe start going back to the office part-time. There's a marketing campaign that needs my attention, and I might as well throw myself into something productive. As I drift off to sleep, I still feel the dull pulse of pain in my back. But the agony is less intense now, or maybe I've learned to bear it. The divorce is finalized a month later. No drama, no big fights in a courtroom. Michelle signs the papers from Florida. I sign them here. That day, I come home, stare at the house that's now solely mine, and I sense the finality of it all. I carry a box out to the curb. It's filled with old photos, love letters, half of which I found in random drawers from our early days. I debated throwing them away. In the end, I decided to keep them, but I can't stand to look at them right now. So I stashed them in the garage, letting them gather dust until maybe, one day, I can look back without my stomach twisting in knots. A part of me wants to see Michelle face to face again, just to see if she's really as broken as she claimed, or if she's happy with Tony. But a bigger part of me knows that would only drag me back into the chaos. I have to move forward, even if it feels like walking on nails. By the end of the summer, I've returned fully to work. My coworkers don't ask too many questions. Maybe they sense it's personal, that it's raw. My boss gives me a tight smile of sympathy now and then, but mostly leaves me alone. That's how I prefer it. One late afternoon, I'm stuck in traffic on the interstate. My back's throbbing from sitting at the wheel so long. The sun glares through the windshield. I flip on the radio, searching for anything to distract me from the line of unmoving cars ahead. Some love song starts playing, and I change the station in disgust. Eventually, I settle on a news broadcast, letting the voices drone. Michelle's words still echo sometimes in my mind. I wasn't enough. I wanted to feel alive. You never saw how lonely I was. I twist my grip on the steering wheel. Maybe I failed her in some ways, but she sure as hell failed me too. The traffic creeps forward. An hour later, I reach home. I park in the driveway, kill the engine. The sun is setting, painting the sky in streaks of pink and orange. I rub my eyes, feeling exhaustion seep into my bones. Then I notice something on the porch step, a package. Stepping out, I approach it warily. No return address. It's a plain cardboard box. My pulse quickens. I'm half afraid it's from Michelle or Tony. I carry it inside and open it on the kitchen table. Inside, I find a few items. A small photograph of me and Michelle at some theme park years ago. An old t-shirt I thought was lost. And a note that says, "You left these. Thought you might want them. T. Tony." I stare at the note, anger flaring. Why would he send me this? To atone. To stir up more pain. My hands tremble as I crumple the paper. For a moment, I contemplate setting the entire package on fire. But something stops me. I set the photograph aside, noticing how happy I looked, and how she glowed with that carefree smile. I breathe, telling myself not to get lost in the past. The future's uncertain, but at least it's mine now. No illusions, no forced three ways, no broken loyalty. I'm alone, and maybe that's the best way to rebuild. Setting the photo and t-shirt on a shelf, I toss Tony's note into the trash. Then I stand there, letting the tension in my spine slowly unwind. My body is battered, my heart is scared, but I'm still breathing. Days pass. Weeks. I start sleeping better, going to the gym for gentle exercises. My back begins to heal. My mind is calmer, though I still have rough moments. moments where I'm tempted to drown in bitterness or guilt. But each time, I remind myself I'm stronger than I was. I continue living, day by day, forging a path that doesn't revolve around her. I catch glimpses of my reflection in windows, and I see a man who's older, maybe a little wiser, definitely more guarded. There's a bitterness in my eyes I didn't have before, but also a cold determination. Then, one Sunday afternoon, I get a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answer. It's Michelle. She sounds hesitant, says hello softly. What do you want? I ask, keeping my voice neutral. She hesitates. I just wanted to say I'm sorry again. I'm heading to California for a while, trying to sort my life out. My parents are supportive, but it's tough. I wanted to let you know Tony and we're not together. It didn't work. I guess that's no surprise. She gives a sad laugh. I close my eyes, pressing the phone to my ear. I hear her breathing on the other end. And for a moment, I'm overwhelmed by memories. Then I speak, carefully. All right. Well, I hope you find what you're looking for. She whispers, Jack, I miss you. My heart clenches. But I steady my voice. We can't go back, Michelle. You know that. She sniffles. Yes, I know. Silence stretches, taut as a wire. Finally, she says, take care of yourself. I'm sorry. I exhale, letting the tension slip from my shoulders. I'll be fine. She pauses, then hangs up. I lower the phone. There's no wave of despair this time, just a dull ache that soon fades. I step out onto the porch, letting the desert air wash over me. The sun is hot and relentless, but I raise my gaze to it, squinting as the light hits my face. It's quiet, too quiet, but it's my quiet. And for the first time in a while, I feel a grim sense of relief. The whole fiasco is behind me. It cost me years of trust, cost me illusions, but it didn't cost me my life. I feel the warmth building on my skin, and a memory stirs of that empty shelf in the bathroom. It's still empty, but I'm not. The space she left behind is a vacuum, sure, but I can fill it with whatever future I choose. That night, I sleep without pills or whiskey. I wake up early the next morning, slip into a pair of running shoes, and head outside. My back protests, but I push forward, starting a slow jog down the block. The ache is there, but so is a stubborn will. Each step reminds me that I'm alive, still standing. By the time I get home, sweat dripping, I realize something. I might be battered, but I'm not defeated. She and Tony might have shattered the man I was, but the man I'm becoming is tempered by the fire of betrayal. My heart might bear the scars, but I'm stronger because of them. I step into the shower, letting the water cascade over me, washing off the sweat and the lingering hurt. When I get out, I glance at that shelf one more time. It's still bare, but I'm not haunted by it anymore. It's just a shelf. No ghost, no regrets. I towel off, catch a glimpse of my reflection in the mirror. There's a new clarity in my eyes, an emptiness replaced by resolve. The lines on my face remain, and the gray hairs at my temples are a bit more pronounced, but I wear them like armor now. I step back into the bedroom, get dressed, fix a tie for work. No more illusions, no more waiting for apologies that won't change anything. Then I grab my keys, walk out of the house, and lock the door behind me in silence.